MadamSplash speaking again. I'm on a bit of a roll, so I thought I'd keep on talking about some very urgent things. Something possessed me to become an ethical hacker. And the purpose of becoming an ethical hacker is because I wanted to know what they were doing to me. And the more I learned, the more horrified I was at how easy it is actually to hack. And I learned that I could always hack because of the days that I've been in the industry so long. You know, in the old days, we had to understand programming. We had to be able to build our own computers. We even had to run our own servers on our own computers at one stage. I always actually knew how to do it, but I'd never taken the trouble to learn. And I still am not comfortable. An ethical hacker pledges they will never hack another person. We only use the knowledge for protecting ourselves and our customers. I might share this because you can probably take some action to protect yourself. The average Joe Blow doesn't really have to probably worry too much about this because luckily there are physically not enough hackers in the world. But if you're a person who's in business or in politics or something where you've got information that somebody else wants, even if it's just a bad old boyfriend, gee, I had a few of those, they just want to know your business. It's even the credit collection companies that are hacking. It's just pretty scary. So how do they do it? Well, they do it because we let them. Every program that we permit onto our devices has got an opt-in clause that they can come into our device whenever they need, or they might need to fix it. Those companies have their own ethical standards, but unfortunately, they're human beings, and human beings are not the most reliable. Every time you download an app, it might be your bank app, it might be your flying company app, it might be your hotel app, it might be a cute little app which has got, little games on it. Oh, they're so cute. It might be an app to create images like this one I'm using, Kitty Master, though I pay for it. So I've got a better chance of it being good if I pay for it. But every single app, including Windows, has the permission for creators to come into our device, to look at it, to fix it, and so forth. And I suppose the biggest problem we have is the duty of care of the carriers. A few years back, I had a terrible problem. Remember Motorola's? Yeah, probably nobody even remembers what they were. They were the most hackable devices on this planet. And I got caught up in a hacking fest 4 years ago, which is like an eon ago in technology. And I discovered it was coming through Telstra. And Telstra, at the time, still sort of belonged to Australia. And Telstra started to investigate itself. But the point of it is that the duty of care of the carriers, and there's only one really, there's only Telstra, we're sort of coming in there with the NBN, and the others that ride on top. And Telstra has this wonderful thing called Telstra Air. Free to air for everybody. It is the hacker's magic to travel through. So let's give you an understanding of how they get in. WAN, Wide Area Network, should be called Weak as Nelly. That's what it should be called. Hasn't really changed since the day they developed it. I know they've done a lot with it, but it's just exchange software which sort of works in the ether, like little thingies running through the ether, little radio waves. They've been tapping into those since the First World War, listening to radio waves. I think we're even coming in now from Titan. But everything in your household that it's sort of got something to do with the wireless is hackable. Like the television. I bought myself a beautiful, gorgeous telescope. The bloody thing's it's actually got a wireless on it, and it's hackable. Bluetooth items are hackable, not as easy, but still hackable. They're all little radios. And some of our families, got radio telephones that predate the internet, but they can get into the telephones as well. So they sort of use all these sort of peripheral devices, which are Wi-Fi, and break into your computer accordingly. So that means that if you're using a laptop, you've got to go into your Microsoft Windows and you've got to turn off anything that's going to give you access to wireless. And that's also the sneaky wireless, because just because you've turned off the wireless doesn't mean that it's not going to keep operating. There are some programs which have permission to keep operating in the background. Even with your battery will keep your computer alive. I'm having an interesting time. Even though I'm a technically minded person, I'm actually running a construction company. I discovered 10 years ago that my knowledge of internet marketing was much more valuable to me than making websites for, $500 a pop. With my SEO knowledge, I can put my websites up very high, and in my industry, there's a lot of money swirling around. I mean, it's the construction industry. There's unlimited funding there to hire people to do all sorts of terrible things. And unfortunately, it's coming in very heavily from two big countries. I mean, we've always been classic at it in Australia. Half the Russian hackers in the world live in Australia. Trust me on that one. But they're coming in from India and from China. When the economies go down, corruption fires up. True. India, of course, they skyrocketed into becoming a technological powerhouse because of Google. Google handed over their technology to them. We've all evolved into this place where we think that we have higher ideals. And we put ourselves straight back into the dark ages by dealing with those two countries, because they still have the triad, they still have their various mafias, and hopefully we don't. Well, actually, I'd say that thanks to this, with our internet, we do. So, pitter patter, what do you do? Okay. Don't use LAN where possible. Make sure you reset your settings of your computer at least once every 3 months. Reset the network settings every month. If you're in a high risk place for people hacking you, do it every week. Switch off your WAN. Find all the devices in your house or your office and switch them off. Switch them off at the wall. Have no engagement to electricity or battery. This goes for your printers, all sorts of devices. I believe some of the coffee makers are also wired for WAN. That's with the smart houses coming. Caution for email is don't open anything from anybody you don't know. If you have access to your webmail, which you should, that's the mail version of it. It's actually, you have to go into a browser to get onto it. Go in there every now and then and block the repetitive people who keep coming in to visit you. This is even more important if you're a professional, as they send code, which it isn't really classified as a virus. It behaves much worse than a virus. But because it's independently created and is only going to be around for a little while, the program won't pick this up. When you open it or look at it or delete it, this triggers the code. If you have a lot of spam, the best way to deal with your spam is don't ever download it to any of your devices. Just go up into the web space and open it up on HTML. Clean out what you don't want, but before you clean it out, have a look and see where it's come from, the IP address, or it's the domain address now, and use your webmail to block that entire address. There's a lot of spam websites. They're splatting out trillions of emails a day for lots of different people, and they're a real pain. And they share their information, or they scrape the web to find it. It puts a lot of weight on your email system. We have to call the people who produce technology to be accountable. We are getting much better, much better. Just to round up, don't use WAN anywhere. You're using tethering, or you're using your router, whoever's giving you your router. Use a cord to it if you can. Don't add another level of wireless. With your computers and your devices, and with a mobile phone, it has to connect to the network, but let it connect to the network through the network, not through the wireless. And lock down the ability to even be able to see other Wi-Fi accounts, because they can be called in from hotels. Hackers can, well, as I said, there's Telstra Air that's sort of like free hacker load. And yeah, that's it really. Protect yourself. And, think about whether you really, really, really need that free app. Where did it come from? Who made it? Pay for them. They're the safest ones, because if you pay for it, you know that somebody is looking after it, not using you and your phone as a slingshot device. Because hackers, when they want to hurt other people or other devices, they use slingshots. They put a bit of code on thousands and they fire code at this poor, helpless being on the end. Yeah, it's pretty sad, isn't it? Gee, it's great to be in the age of technology. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I thought I'd say today.